All right, we are live, just a few minutes late, and I will say nobody's fault. Well, not Chelsea in the dark. All I can hear when I brought her camera feed into the live so that we can try to stay, because Chelsea's the one that's always like, we need to. Oh, now I hear echo.
Hang on,
Oh
it's
boy,
my
hold
fault.
on. No, no, no. It's there we go. That was me on my end because I have our YouTube feed up on my secondary screen.
No,
But
these are the
when
sounds of setting up a studio.
this is what usually happens when it's like 5 minutes. Well, for me, it's like 15 minutes before showtime. I'm down here running around, and then I sit here just like this, and I wait for the ding of Chelsea's video feed to come on or come into the green room. And then today I was like, okay, 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go.
Okay, we had a little drama at nighttime.
Uh
Mama had to put Hayes to sleep, and he was sobbing
oh. But everything's
because
okay
he
though,
couldn't
right?
watch Blippi Helicopter. He was not sobbing for a good reason.
Well,
What's the hat here?
your video feed came on and you weren't there, and all I could hear is clanking and banging, and then like I think you knocked over a plant.
I did. It's my really old plant. How's my microphone sounding?
It's They're good.
Fancy sounding?
Your video just changed on us.
I know. That's interesting. How did that happen?
Guess what? We're the ones talking about setting up a podcast studio, a live
you,
studio, and here we are messing around.
I look to you for this expert advice on why certain things happen on my laptop. I cannot know
That was
what's
weird
going on.
because something it's a completely different feed.
I just plugged in my headphones.
But I guess you're now we can't hear you at all.
It mutes when I unplug my headphones. Can you hear me here?
I can hear you now. So is your feed coming from your mic there?
Uh, all right, troubleshoot live here, Brian. How can I tell? It says default microphone airbook. We don't want that one. Sure. All right, now it's coming from the fancy
Oh,
mic.
there you are. Yeah, now you sound really good.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna plug. Let's see, camera. I am only using my FaceTime. Oh,
I
I could
almost have
use.
a feeling that we should have had another live episode in between to go through all of this stuff.
Wait, but that's what we're doing today. Is you're setting up my studio
I
space?
know, but I feel like there's a lot of unknowns going on, and people are going to watch us really scramble here.
What's the point? No, you don't have my back camera on, so they can't see the full extent of my crazy.
You're well, we're gonna. This is like a date night where we slowly unveil certain things.
Oh, I'm gonna need wine for this one. I can already tell.
Oh, okay. So one of the things that's kind of weird is, well, two. Now that I just realized I forgot my wine, you may have to carry the show for about 2 minutes when I go upstairs and go get my wine because I am going to need it
Sounds
for
right.
tonight. Um, but your video feed keeps freezing.
What? I mean, I don't look crisp. I have no lights on. That this is an intentional choice to have
Right.
zero lighting on. I mean, I have an overhead light. You can see the glare is horrendous. Um, but why would that?
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
really well, we'll figure it out as we go.
We will. We will.
And on top of maybe some of the new issues that are going to come up on your end, because we're kind of building some things within your studio as we go, and we're talking about the why and the how. um, I have recently, in the last couple weeks, am encountering new issues on my end based off of what the propeller heads are telling me are probably my laptop and my Wi-Fi that I should be, instead of on Wi-Fi for these live streams, I really should be hardwired into my router, he suggested. And that's for those of you guys that are like beginners in all this, and you're looking to see what it's like to set up a YouTube studio, podcast studio, a live studio. There may be some things here that you're going to hear and you'll be like, oh, this is too hard. It's too difficult. A lot of this can be set up and done super easy. What Chelsea and I are doing is we're kind of taking it to that next level of production and adding in a few higher end things. And with that, and we'll talk about this tonight, when you add in higher level things and you want to do more with your production, there's way more things that can go wrong and that you have to understand. And if you don't know how to operate your tools, which we're both kind of learning as we go.
You have a very solid knowledge here.
But I am maybe a month or two just ahead of you. And for
Really?
those that maybe are listening that are like, okay, well, I'm interested in setting up or doing more within podcasting or doing lives and having a studio, we're just a few months ahead of those people. And then there's people that when you're watching YouTube or these people that have been doing this for years, they are light years ahead of us. But
Mm-hmm.
we're getting there, and I do think it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, this is the most fun part. This is, one of the ways this got started. I know we talk about the Star Wars episode, but as a follow-up from the Star Wars episode, I was very impressed with everything Brian had going on and just asking him a lot of questions like, how do I do this or that or this? And you were like, learn live. So today I'm literally learning live, everyone watching.
And this goes back to our kind of charter in working on this project together. So Chelsea and I, everything we are learning here in this project, in this 24 episode live project of learning how to make a podcast long term, all of these things she and I can take back to our own little world business, whatever we do on that end, and maybe apply some of the stuff to that area. So I know you do a lot of coaching and you're on video and you live stream all the time. And you had mentioned before that you wanted to kind of zhuzh up maybe your looks on that end with your setup, right?
But why? This looks so good.
I if if you are one of the two people that are watching this right now, just out of curiosity, can we just get an audio check, make sure that she and I sound okay to you guys? And then for me, her screen is still freezing up every so often. Like there's a delay.
It's
So
weird.
if people that are if the two people that are watching right now, if they don't see it, then it's not that big of a deal. I can still hear you, and you sound like when you get up to the mic, you sound really good.
I know. That's so I've never for anyone watch, I've never used this microphone before and I realize in using it I can't be my usual expressive self and like talk and move, or I probably need to stay in the same location, taking me back to my chorus days, my choir days.
These microphones, I watched maybe about 30-40 minutes of a YouTube channel today, and Chelsea and I have the exact same microphone, and we'll talk about that too. It's the Shure MV7. They look slightly different simply because uh, when you buy it, it looks exactly like Chelsea's. And then what I have done, I've modded mine out with a longer tip to mine to help with the S's and the P's. When you speak into a microphone, you don't have the I forget what explosives, is that what it's called?
Oh, I don't know that. It's the first time, makes sense. First I'm hearing it.
Okay, so let's see here. Gardening on the Prairie, which I think she deserves some kind of stars or something because I think she's been on just about every live recently. And Julie as well. So Gardening on the Prairie Brian is quieter. Chelsea is good. I'm not seeing her freeze, but I'm on my phone and don't have my readers on. So one of the things that I'm going to do then, since we're getting some feedback there, is I can manually kick up my mic a bit. So I'm going to do that. Hopefully that's a little better. I kicked it up just a little. Julie is saying audio is good. Chelsea looks like bad quality, but isn't freezing. Okay, so and purposefully done.
Yeah. I don't have any of my lights on at all because Brian is going to help me do the placement. Brian, did you update something before this live?
In what way?
I don't
In
know
my
if my
looks?
yes, you look like your whole thing is like crisper than usual. Maybe it's because mine is so bad, yours looks better.
I thought you were going to make
You got a haircut?
a personal appearance. I groomed my beard for our
You
live
groomed your
tonight.
beard. I
I
was
took a
blaming it on your
shower.
lighting.
Well, that's a little different,
Your
but I'll
audio is
explain
better.
I'll explain that. Well, so far the audio is working on my end. But I groomed the beard. I took a shower. I was working on power washing the house today before the tornadoes come through, which we're right in the middle of our in the red area for St. Louis. And I got the big horse brush thing out and I got the beard wax and the oil and I was kind of doing a little pampering of Brian before we got onto um, our live. But I'm kind of missing my wine. Can you carry this for two
Yeah.
minutes so I can go get it and maybe you can explain what you're kind of doing? And
Yes.
okay, I'll be right
Yes,
back,
yes, yes.
everybody.
Brian's looking all sharp, and I'm sitting here in my backwards hat with my hands covered in dirt. But I think everyone watching is a gardener, so we understand. So we wanted to start with who each of us are and why we're doing an episode like this, or why we even care about a studio. So if you're watching and you're looking to set up your own studio, you have some context and you can help decide which of our elements you may want to implement and whatnot. And, as Brian shared, my studio is purposefully as bad as it possibly can be. But this is one of the reasons Brian and I started talking more was I was looking to get a setup that looks more like his. And my setup used to look regularly like this. If you've seen past lives, I do have a couple lights that make it look a little better than this, but I'm going to have him place them more strategically. Um, but in addition to having a plant obsession, which is how most people know me, I also work exclusively from home and virtually for the most part. So I sit right here in this seat with this background when I work one-to-one with any of my clients, and that's throughout the day. So I personally want not just like a studio setup, but a better daily work home environment. And then in addition to that, I am an adjunct faculty member at the Pacific College of Health and Science, and I teach night classes. It's a master's level program. The students are actually mostly in the Pacific Coast. So to me, they're night. To them, it's not. And that is a huge problem. So my classes, I look like this up until I was like, Brian, help. Because I would show up as the professor of this class. And I don't have the title professor technically. And I was this grainy, this dark, this hard to see, which I just don't find very professional. So I guess the last thing is I also have my own podcast, Coaches Take on Work, sort of my professional brand. And I normally record that during the day. And as Brian shared during our prep live for this, I have beautiful light coming in from the window that's southern facing, which is fine during the day, but like I can't look like this during the night. So my hope is that we can come up with something that makes my lighting more consistent, removes the glares, makes my video look more like Brian's, which may involve buying a camera. But purchasing wise, I focused on light as a first step, and we'll see what more I need to get. Obviously, I have this microphone too, but
I I I am definitely taking notice of the audio. Like
it's good
your
or bad.
no, your voice sounds really good on
Oh,
this. When you
thanks.
listen back to this later on,
You're gonna love
I
it.
think it's gonna I think it's gonna open up for us to be like a little more kind of intimate talking with our two viewers.
Mm.
Does I mean, am I? Can you guys hear that or no? I don't know if you're watching this maybe just on your cell phone, and with that audio, you might not be able to pick up on it. But when you have a studio headset or monitor headset, and you actually hear, I can tell night and day difference in her audio.
Well, and I can tell you why I couldn't get it set up. So I've had this mic for a minute. And the reason Brian shared podcasters buy this mic is because you can connect it in a couple different ways. One of the most attractive being USB directly to your computer. That doesn't work when you have a Mac and the computer is what, USB C? And this is USB A. And so all the USB cords that came with it connected to my dongle, and it's not powerful enough for whatever reason. Maybe I have a bad dongle. So it had to connect directly to the computer. Is dongle the word? Because dongle just sounds weird.
Dongle sounds kind of nasty.
I think it's the right word.
Yeah, I think we all know what you're talking about. Now, you're
Thanks,
unless
Julie.
I misunderstood what you just said, but your MV7 should come with, because you did touch on that you can go with a little fancier setup with the XLR big cables with it, or the MV7 USB, but it also should have two cables, USB A and C in there.
Mine didn't have a USB-C, I guess. I connected it in two different ways to like my dongle with the USB-C. I swear the word is dongle. Anyone else know if the word is dongle?
Yeah, right here is that's the USB-C cable.
They did not like me that much. Either that or my husband lost it.
Box. It could still be in your box. But anyways, Brian's still a touch quieter. Well, I'm just going to crank up my audio then all the way.
I don't have volume control in my audio, right? So perhaps that's why.
Well, there's, again, when you have a bunch of different options, so within the software platform that we're going through, we can either leave that on auto or manual, and then on your own microphone. Like we can tone you down too if we wanted to.
Am I louder? I see how to turn it down now. Hypothetically. Oh. It's not the most intuitive. Do you see this?
I just think it's funny because it's like you're at the zoo and you're watching like the primate like playing with something, trying to figure it out.
Well, my new fidget spinner is this remote that came with my light that Brian recommended that allows me to take pictures, I suppose. So this will just sit at my desk as the perfect fidget toy.
So do you want to guide us through tonight and talk about like the different areas we're going to go into, then we can kind of discuss, and then hopefully we can at least get to the front light early on, just so we can get light on you,
just so we can see me.
So we can see you. You're backlit right now, and it's kind of like we're getting ready to unveil some kind of a makeup tutorial, or
yeah, it's pretty bad. So you need to go first. So when you walked away, I shared a little bit more about me and different ways that I use this room and why I'm setting up the studio. And I told everyone it was so they could have the context, so they can decide what they may want to purchase or implement from the tips we're giving tonight. So it's your turn. Why do you look like, I mean, sometimes I think Brian looks like he is just the most produced, beautiful. And you're like, oh, I kind of half know what I'm doing. Like, it's amazing.
Okay, so that's a great place to start. So the why of having a studio like kind of what you guys see here, or what we're portraying, at least on the camera. And you can go, there's different ways that you can do it, obviously. And we talked about you can make it as difficult or as produced as you want, or you can keep it very casual, shoot everything on a phone, and have the ability of doing it everywhere in your house, outside, all of that good stuff. Why I chose to go with a more formal setting is because I knew I was getting into podcasting, and I needed an area that I can get to most of the time, which is in my house, that is normally somewhat quiet, closed off from the rest of the people here and the animals and all the noise that goes on. And I can sit here and carry on an interview or a conversation with somebody and have control of my surroundings and my settings, and make it have somewhat of a consistent look. And I know the look has changed since I started 6 months ago, but that's part of, I think that's kind of the fun of, if you followed me from the beginning, or you followed Chelsea and I as we were throwing this all together, and then each week that goes by, you're watching how we kind of change a little bit as we get comfortable, find out what we're good at, what we want to do some more of. And I know that I wanted a set spot that I can go to all the time, and that's kind of having a podcast or a live studio. So this is my office that I normally have for my business that I have. I'm a photographer slash videographer, which does not mean that I should be an expert in setting all this stuff up. That's a whole nother thing. I go to people. I can shoot somebody's wedding, senior pictures. I used to do family pictures, boudoir, all that stuff. Right? I can do that kind of stuff.
Wait, the same skills required to do all those different categories of photography? You've done boudoir?
Yes. Well, I know it looks good, and people, my
Hey,
clients really think that I'm good. I got a good eye, and just
I
like
love
if
it.
you listen to our podcast episodes where I'm talking to somebody, there's a rapport that goes on. I mean, 15% of the time that I'm with somebody, no matter what type of shoot it is, it may involve the shooting part of it, but then as a small business owner and somebody that I think that I do have a switch that I can be very charming. I know a lot of people don't think I can,
I
but
didn't say that. I'm just impressed at your breadth of
I can,
responsibility.
people, there's a sense of they trust me, they know that I'm good, and they just like the experience. I'm
Heck
not tooting
yeah.
my own horn because I don't really do that very well either. But that skill set there doesn't necessarily translate to what we're doing here, other than when I watch YouTube videos and I see other podcasters or live streamers and they have a nice little setup.
Hmm.
A lot of times, what I'm doing with my background that I have in photography and videography is okay, I'm dissecting how do they have this stuff set up,
Yep.
which is kind of what we're going to do with your lighting. And I'm going to give you what little information that I have. And then I'm going to let Chelsea kind of say, okay, well, I want it to look my way, but Brian has explained certain things of why he's doing his thing, and hopefully that gives her some information as to how she wants to do hers. Those of you that are listening, how maybe that sparks an idea of maybe you guys, when you're doing a live on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, maybe you take a little bit of what we talk about tonight and apply that to your particular situation. And that's kind of what I think why we're kind of pulling the curtain back tonight and just letting people kind of see the setup of Chelsea's area a little bit, and more importantly, the why we're doing
Mhm.
certain things. So I want a set place, a nice little studio area, especially when I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing interviews, and it's nice and quiet. I can control the room, the situation. And then I also know that whether it's podcasts or live streams or a lot of the advertising for all that is all visual clips, short video clips, right? So I know that what catches my attention when I'm on YouTube scrolling or Instagram scrolling are setups that are a little bit nicer, that have a lighting setup in the background, and that the key light, the main light on the subject is nicely lit,
Mhm.
you know? This isn't a requirement. This isn't how I'm saying you should do it. I'm just saying here's how I'm doing it for now. And Chelsea and I, this is how we're kind of doing it for now. And then we're going to let you guys see and hear it.
It-
This is not perfect by far.
But we can at least say at a minimum, this is not how you do it. Like we know what we don't want. So to say what you're doing is not the only way to do it. Sure, sure, sure. But like, come on, people. Look at Brian's screen. Look at my screen. All we're trying to do is look more like Brian's screen. And if anyone watching is going to say objectively, Brian doesn't look better right now, you're just dead wrong. Sorry.
And what catches your eye? If you're scrolling through, and we're a scroll culture now, right? With our
Mm-hmm.
phones and content that we go through, and superficially, there's times where a good, attractive looking person pops up. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. We're going to take notice more often than not. So if you have a nice lit setup, it's going to be more attractive for people to either stop or to stick around and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've noticed when people are doing lives is the lighting is they're either using overhead lighting, just like the room light, which we all just have to use what we have, right? Or there's too much light coming in from the background, and then therefore the subject, the person that's in the middle of the video, is backlit. So Chelsea right now is kind of backlit, so her lighting is kind of off, right? So her backlighting or the top lighting in the room is just too bright. So there you go. There's her top lighting, and it's just not. We can't see her,
Yep.
and then the camera and the video quality is not going to be very good. So one of the things that I think Chelsea and I had talked about was one of her purchases should probably be some form of light to light her.
Yep. And I have with me today, Brian, a couple lights that I gave you that I think we'll put in the show notes, but also a couple lights that I was just curious how we may want to incorporate, because I think most people would have these in their house. So I have like a desk lamp that I didn't actually have a light bulb in. Been in this house for 2 years.
Sure.
So I put a light bulb in it for our chat today. And then I bought is an aesthetic light in a past apartment. This like movie thing, you know. This was an aesthetic lamp choice in an apartment in Manhattan that did not have overhead lighting. And again, I was not ever using the desk light. The movie one I have used for past lives. It's one of the ways I lit well. I also purchased, per Brian's suggestion, the ring light, which I've not used yet. The last light I have for fun, which Brian hates, but I think it's cute. Hang on. Is this guy. Look at this cute little guy. He just sits on top of my laptop and he's cute. And he turns on. So I've been using this for class.
And it works well, right? I mean, it works well enough
fine
for what you have.
Yeah, it's been on for our past couple lives. So if anyone's thought I've looked better than this, hopefully it's because of this guy. I don't think it's the best I could have. And I'd say, you know, we can talk about like marketing, attention grabbing, scrolling purposes for sure. Yeah, it's that one. Additionally,
it's a simple,
I would say
easy light
Yeah.
that if you're on a budget,
let me plug it in for everybody.
And you want to be able to live stream pretty much anywhere to where you don't have good lighting in a room, where you can use maybe like a window and you have that window indirect light. You don't want the sun hitting right on your face. You want that indirect light coming in from a window. That's almost the perfect light. But sometimes what's showing behind that window, like in the background, is always not the best. So hopefully you're in a situation where you have window and then whatever's behind that looks good, and that could be a setting for you. But if you don't, and your best wall or background is somewhere where the lighting's not good, something like this for, it looks like what, $21 on Amazon?
Yep.
Can definitely help. It's better than not having any light. And that's what you're showing right now, right?
Mm-hmm. This is what I've been doing for class. My issue with this, and Brian warned me, I'll probably still keep this because it's so lightweight. I still have the opportunity to return it, but I think I'll keep it. It's so lightweight, easy for travel. I liked this as an option, and I do travel for fun, but then I work wherever my laptop is. Right. So if I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation, but if I'm working, and the thing I would share, the services I do are all virtual. So I get paid just for this. Like I get paid to talk to people basically on a virtual screen. And what I told Brian is like part of what they're paying for, sure, there's the scroll element, but if anyone's working virtually, part of what, you know, your company's paying you to do is be however presentable you are. And I would say the microphone was actually free because my husband works at Spotify and they have like a reimbursable budget for remote employees to actually look and sound in a quality way. So it's the other piece. If you're like, should I invest or not? What do you get paid to do? If you get paid to sit in front of a virtual box all day, probably, right?
But just think of all the things and if you're watching this, and Chelsea, don't let this mess you up or anything, but I mean, your video is a few seconds behind your audio, and I'm just curious if anybody's watching this, if you guys are noticing any of that with her or myself,
Weird.
just to try to troubleshoot it for later on. But it's going to work because I mean, you're only a few seconds behind. I'm curious where the issue is coming from.
I know. It's not ideal.
But yeah, so the lighting that you're using right now for $20, if you're on a budget and you want to just open up your options, I would absolutely look at this, and we'll have this in the show notes, in the description underneath the live after this ends, to where you guys can go check it out and see. And this is the exact same one that Chelsea's using. And then she also mentioned, and I'm just going to pull up the other big one. So this is the one that I'm using as well, but you've bought it also.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Let's get this one up here.
Oh.
It's the best way of getting us up there. Okay, so this is the bigger 18-inch light. Now this is the one that I currently am using, and I used to have a light that was, I would say, a little bit between the small one that you're showing and then this one here. So it's kind of the middle bear thing. And the problem I had was once I started getting my everything lit, my light wasn't strong enough, powerful enough to balance between what I want my background to look like and a nice big soft light on me. So again, for some people, you probably can't tell much of a difference between how Chelsea's lit and how I'm lit. And for me, that wouldn't be, that's not a showstopper for me at all. I know the problems that I had, which is why I had to upgrade to a bigger one. And obviously, spending this one here is $112 versus $20. That's a lot. But with that extra money, you get a much bigger ring light. You get one that can adjust to where I can dim it down all the way, or I can crank it up if I really need to get more light on me, depending on the setup that you're in. And then also with this, you have, and you can see it in the picture, the gold, the warmer plastic rings that are up there. That can give you a warmer light on you to where you don't look, like right now I look, it's a very cool color that's on me. But if I wanted to warm up the color on me, I could put in those little gold pieces, and it'll just warm the light up. It just goes with, it gives you flexibility in how you want your look to be. Again, this will be in the show description, so you guys can check that out also. And this here regularly goes on sale. I think the time that Chelsea was looking for one, wasn't it under $100 when you bought it?
Yeah, it was like 70 something, I think.
Yeah. Although I would definitely recommend it at $112. I mean, it's a really good light. It's not one that I just randomly picked. I mean, I did a lot of research, and this came highly recommended from other podcast people, and that was good for me. So you guys can see there. Let me go to what Chelsea's doing. So she's putting in those plastic pieces there, and you can either go with the clear ones, which I have the clear ones on, and it can give you, I think that's considered like 5,000 Kelvin. So this is kind of default like sunlight-ish, although this is kind of a cool light. Or you can put the colored lights in, and then you'll have a nice kind of a sunset look. Gives you a little more of a tan look.
And for anyone listening who happens to be a woman, if you just heard Brian's options, you should know why I'm putting in. This will give me a sunset tan look, people. Obviously, I'm going.
But it gives you the flexibility, though, depending on how you end up playing around with your room and setting up all your lights,
Mm-hmm.
you may want to use all of your colored lights there, or your pieces, or you may want to use half of them, like two. To if it's too much of a tan look, you can tone it down by only putting two of them on.
Yeah.
So with the cost of a more expensive light, you get something that gives you a little more flexibility in what you can do with it. But it comes at a little bit more of a cost. But I knew that this was an investment for me that I wanted to do. And you can see it in action now also. So this is what I've been using for the last, I would say, 3 months. And I've had zero regrets in spending the money on it. So Chelsea's setting hers up, and it's going to look really good.
So here's my question, and what I've been waiting for this live to talk to you about. This light sitting on my laptop blinds my eyes. Like, it makes it hard for me to concentrate on you.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it hard for me to look at the screen. Now, the other problem is, and I'm going to add too many layers, the camera, because I'm using my Max camera, and I recognize there are alternatives. For now, I haven't evolved. I try to look this direction because I feel like it looks a little bit more like I'm looking into my camera. You do not look into the camera.
Right.
You're directed other way, which I'm curious about. And additionally, like, how do you do that? Because I mean, it is, whoo, and this is a lower setting. If I go much lower than this, I'm grainy. And then if I go the highest, I can't even, it's just blinding.
So what you'll want to do to set up your key light here, and again, if anybody's watching this, if you could just give me some feedback as to if Chelsea's video and audio is matched up. It just, for me, looks like her audio is not, it's off by a couple seconds. And again, it's not gonna mess up what we're doing here tonight. It's one of those things where I just, something goes wrong, I'm trying to troubleshoot and try to figure out how to fix it and why it's doing it. But one of the reasons why that's affecting you the way it is because it's such a small light. So you have a very bright, it's like a flashlight, but it's such a small little thing that's shooting light right in your face. So if you had a bigger light, you can actually turn it down and it's spread out and diffused more. And then what you can do with a bigger light is, I've changed mine now. This might be a good, so Chelsea and I are going to do something fancy tonight. Let's see here. Look at this, guys. This is part of the date night I was telling you about, to where we're kind of teasing people. I'm going to drop a little live stream lingerie here for people. I'm going to add in another video feed from my room. So this is coming from my cell phone that's mounted on a tripod over to my side. So this is kind of my setup in my room that I'm in. And the reason why I am looking off, well, let me finish the whole lighting thing for a sec. So you see how my light is now up high and tilted down. So that one will help in Chelsea's case, to where she doesn't have this small little light right in front of her face. Okay, because that's hard to, you don't want that to happen. Plus, I'm assuming the light is probably pretty close to where your camera is.
It's right next to the camera, so I can't.
So you're getting some light diffraction, which is going to also not make your video quality very good. So when you get that light, so this is where my background in photography comes in. I always want to get my flash up and away from my camera, the best as I can.
Yeah.
So before today, and Chelsea saw that there was something different. It wasn't just my beard today. But before, my light, you guys see the big light here, was down in front of me, and I had my camera that is streaming, which is back here, was shooting in the little hole here. So the light was around me, but because it was around and it's a big light, it's not right in my eyes. So it lit me beautifully. Really nice. The problem is when the light's down here by the camera also, when you wear glasses, you guys have noticed I don't wear glasses on the live streams. It's because when I turn to face, you see the reflection of the light. Well, the way a photographer adjusts for that with people with glasses is that you raise the light or change the angle of it. So I played around today and I found an angle to where I can do what we're doing here. I can look directly into the camera and you don't necessarily see the big ring. So I can still wear my glasses now, which is great.
Okay, I am so proud of myself. I knew that you had changed your lighting.
Yeah.
I get kudos for that, right?
Well, when you're with somebody, as long as we've been together doing this, you notice a certain look is different. So that is what you noticed was the lighting was a little bit
Yes.
different on me.
That's awesome. I knew there was something. I did not guess it was the well-groomed beard. That's also nice.
My beard is actually feeling and looking really good tonight. Hey, Julie, I noticed you just made a comment on here. Do you notice if Chelsea's audio and video are matched up when she's talking?
Everyone else but you thinks I sound amazing.
No, you sound
I'm
awesome.
kidding. No,
It's
Julie
just not
said
matched up.
Julie said seems fine to me. And Gardening in the Prairie, Elise, right? Is that is wondering if it's your computer being bogged down. It's on you, not on me.
It's very, very possible. Where did you see that they said that?
They're in the comments.
Where she said it might have been
5 comments up. 858.
I don't have that comment on here.
What?
Maybe the issues are on my end. See?
I was wondering, and I thank y'all for confirming. I mean, obviously, we know it's probably Brian's fault. No, I'm kidding. But thanks y'all for confirming because Elise, yes, I have a great memory. Because this is a new mic, I was a little worried. I also have the backup cam, and Brian, I turned it off because I was curious if that was causing a problem. But I'd say at this point, hopefully it's just your computer being a little laggy, which is good.
Yeah, so if it is, then I'm totally glad because that if it wasn't, then we're opening up a whole new can of worms. That's something on Chelsea's end could be causing an issue, and trying to diagnose that, I would have to probably tap into your husband because he knows your stuff more than I would. I can't even figure out my stuff. But
my husband is my IT team. I like to act like I know what I'm doing, but Brian knows. The other day, I was like, "Hang on, let me connect you with the head of the household."
that one day that he came in to try to fix the microphone. This was like a month ago.
Yeah.
And he got on while we weren't really on a live, but I think we're on like one of our discussion things. So we were just doing a video chat.
We were trying to go live and we couldn't go live because you couldn't hear me.
And so he was kind of interacting with me, but in a sense of like trying to fix what you guys had over there. But he and I have never talked. So as much as you and I don't have a relationship, he and I have zero. And so I was like, I felt like awkward. I was like, I don't know if do I talk to him or what? So I said something that I'm like, today, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. I said something like, so do you like Jar Jar Binks? Just random. Because that's something you and I had talked about. And he was like, oh yeah. I think he said, yes, he does or something. I was like, okay. I mean, it was such an awkward interaction or whatever.
It was great. Also, he's watched a couple of these. He's probably watching right now. Mike, if you're watching right now, I need an extension cord. What would this be? He's my like sound tech, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, if this was, I'm hoping it's on my end. Again, if I look too much at the video as we're doing it right now and trying to interact with what I'm seeing and hearing, it's going to throw me off.
Yeah.
But as long as everybody else is saying it looks fine to them, that's really good. So I don't mind. So we explained the big light thing, how that could, why the small light on her laptop that she was showing you, that was $21, was causing her kind of some issues because it's so bright and it's right there in front of the camera that she has to look at. Yep. So that would be maybe one reason that you would also want to get a bigger light. But with that comes, well, how do you mount it? How do you put it somewhere? Like you see behind Chelsea now, hers is on the kind of a light stand. that it comes
Mhm.
with,
Mhm.
but you're not going to put that. You can't because you don't have space the way you're set up now because you're on a desk.
I do, because I thought I have to do what you're doing. Sorry, I keep turning my head. I do have my desk pulled away from the window.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is a camera tripod. That's not this tripod. That's what you're sharing.
Okay.
Or is yours isn't the tripod it came with?
How I have my light.
Yeah.
So my light is on. Let's see here.
Because I can't. mm, I would love to do what you're doing right now, but to have it sitting next to my desk somehow.
So you may want to get this contraption. A lot of you guys are going to look at this and be like, "What the hell is that? That's the most ridiculous thing that I have ever seen." It attaches to. I had this all called up and it was getting ready to go on, and then my browser just went kaput on me, so I'm having to restart that one. Make sure that's on mute. And I'm going down into, because I already populated our description thing at the bottom of our live here. So this is called a Viozon Selfie Desktop Live Stand. This looks like something out of Star Wars, actually. And I'm going to put that up here now.
Whoa.
So this mounts to my desk.
That may be a lot.
And it comes with a lot of attachments that you can, if you wanted to, you could put your laptop up there, your cell phone can mount up there, so you can possibly even use your laptop and your cell phone and get two streams going. Or like maybe you want to go live on TikTok and then go live on Instagram at the same time, which you can't really do right now. You can have this kind of a setup to where you can do it live and then have two things right in front of you, as well as a microphone boom arm and how you can get your light attached to it. It's all standard connections for all of this stuff. And all the connections come with this little contraption. So this is how, if you guys look at my third side camera, that's how my light is mounted and up at that angle, is because it's on a swivel arm on this. Yeah, it totally looks creepy. Alien probing equipment. It absolutely does.
Okay.
So something like that is $140, which, I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not the most expensive thing out there. There's other ones that are real nice to where you can really move the things around and get a bunch of different angles. And if you do this, I would say if you're probably doing live streaming or podcasting and you're probably making some money or you have a lot of disposable income or something, I would probably buy a higher end version than what I have here, but this one serves me just fine, and it works. It works well for what I need it to do. So you guys can see that my light is attached to mine. My mic here is attached to another boom arm, and then you'll see that the screen from this side angle here, I'm not looking at my camera. My camera is separate, and I'm not looking at the camera. I don't use the camera in the laptop because that's the lowest quality camera that I have. But when I'm looking at Chelsea, I have to look at the screen that you guys see here. So I've got I think this is a 24-inch widescreen LCD that I have turned vertical. And so when I'm interacting with somebody on our StreamYard platform, I have it on this screen here. And then if I need to type, I've got my laptop down here with its own little screen. And then off to my left, I just have another 24-inch monitor that this is what we're also showing, like with the Amazon, where you guys can get all the products and stuff. So I've got things all just looking crazy on this desk, but it gives me everything that I need. And if I ever wanted to upgrade on different stuff or add in different things, it gives you the flexibility to do that. So Chelsea looks like she's getting her secondary camera going. So like if we were to pull her thing up.
My understanding, my takeaway is my light's got to be behind my desk. So I'm currently in the process of doing that.
Yeah, so you're going to have, so there's a few things that Chelsea, if this is the room, like Chelsea's room for her studio, I feel like, I don't know if I'm talking to Chelsea third person or if I should
I hear you.
Talk to Chelsea directly. So there's a few things that, okay, is this the room that she needs to be in?
Yes.
And if that's the case, then my thing would be, is she totally reliant on that window? And prior to getting any of these lights, she would probably have to have that window being one of her main lights during the day, and then have to get some kind of clip-on light or some kind of light we're talking about at night. So she could, when you have secondary lights, it gives you the opportunity to use any one of those walls in that room as your background. And I think Chelsea wants to use the background that we're seeing on her main camera feed there.
So that's screwed into the wall, so I have to. That's a Murphy bed, so okay. I can't move it.
So that's just going to be her background, which is going to be cool, especially when she gets all that lit. If she wants to, she can make that look really cool with the plants and get a couple accent colored lights back there. So now the trick's going to be trying to figure out how she's going to get the key light, her main light, back behind there. Now she's trying with the light stand. And that's going to be a matter of, that's going to be kind of hard.
It's like someone telling you you're failing while you're failing. And now she's trying. Oh, she failed again.
So Gardening on the Prairie is saying, what if you did the desk facing the corner? Then you still have the window. Then you'll still have window and room for the ring light.
So the desk is 6 feet long.
So moving it to the one corner in that room, but then that changes her background. That's the thing, though. Then her background might not be as cool. Like, she's got a good background.
I could. Ooh.
But see, this is why something like this is kind of cool, because you guys are watching in real time Chelsea trying to figure out how she wants to do this room. And this is what you guys would have to figure out, too, if you're wanting to make a room.
Elise is right. Studio. Brian, you're going to carry the show for a minute because I think Elise is right. Will I spill the wine? No, I will not.
But visualize. So Chelsea, visualize if your desk was in that corner. Do you like the background that would show behind you? Or could you make that background look kind of cool?
This is my whiteboard for work. So my hypothesis here is if I move my desk closer to the corner, I can put angle my monitor and my laptop in the corner, and then we can get somewhere.
This is the trial experience here, to where you may move things around and your husband may kill you or hate you because you're going to have to enlist his help to move things, maybe.
No.
She's carrying like gigantic pots of a fern. But this is the cool.
Oh my God, Brian, you need to learn about indoor plants. This is called a Dracaena. It's one of the easiest indoor plants that is also big and cool. It needs low light.
Perfect. That deserves to be in the background. So that needs to be on camera.
I got to look at it though. It brought me joy. It just didn't bring you joy.
But that's part of the keep doing what you're doing. We're just watching you. This is like Animal Planet. We're watching Animal Planet setting up a studio.
Oh, I do need a second pair of hands. So this desk that you can see is a 6-foot-long custom-made desk from a bowling alley that was torn down in Brooklyn that we had this woodworker mill for us. And then the legs are those like classic pipe
That's not, I mean, it
legs.
sounds sweet.
It's gorgeous.
So I think once all of the main, so I think Chelsea, the thing that will, the carrot dangle in front of you is going to be when you get the main setup going, and then you get to kind of decorate with the plants and the light and like doing the micro movement of things to make it look really good. Because I think that's the fun part.
Yeah,
You know, incorporating the big plants and, you know, the whiteboard she could incorporate to where she can have a space always dedicated in a certain area to where if she needs to pull the whiteboard out with one of her classes or during her lives, she can do that. She has a space to do that. I find this kind of fun. I know it's frustrating and we all just want to have something just set and done, but trying to figure out how your studio is going to look, and you got to be able to look at it from a different perspective, not through your eyes. You have to look at it from the people watching you, how it's going to look. And that tree definitely needs to be somewhere in the background. That's how cool that is.
But I have my penny ficus, which you can't see really right now.
And
So
if you get an accent light on that, like a colored accent light on that in the background, oh my God, it'd look awesome.
And the cool thing for all you plant people is my accent light could be a grow light.
See, there you go. You can get a fancy LED grow light that during podcast or live stream times, you can make it into a certain color. Like if you notice the background colors of mine back here, those are tuned to the colors of the Tossing Salad podcast colors. And if Chelsea and I end up having a show and we have set colors, I can easily have the colors match the lights. So now we've got the big light going.
Okay, I'm gonna do some testing.
You're making Gardening on the Prairie want to rearrange her area a bit.
I know. Elise, I need you over here holding the other side of my desk because my husband is nowhere to be found. And I agree with your suggestion. So look how pretty. This is a Moroccan rug hanging on my wall. I have a very pretty office. I'm just saying.
Look at how possibly incorporating a whole bunch of stuff in the back. And I'm not saying like clutter everything up, but I think this opens you up to having a really unique look to your studio.
I'm buying it. I'm moving my laptop without moving my desk so we can just see if that is better on my face. The problem is I've always worked with my monitor on the left, and the idea of putting my monitor on the right, it's like that can't happen.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's going to be trade-offs. There may be times where you're like, oh, I like the looks of this. Do I want to adjust the way that I work for practicality purposes?
All right. Hang on.
Like my background, as Chelsea's moving stuff around, my background, I decided, if you guys go back on the podcast, you'll know that I've had a few different looks. But I had a spare TV that we just weren't using. Ooh. So I mounted the TV behind me to have the Tossing Salad logo on there. But down the road, maybe Chelsea and I have a logo for our own show. And so every different show that I do, I have that up there.
How's this first? This would be conceptually the idea.
I'm liking it.
You're liking it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of feeling right.
You're getting to a point to where it's kind of interesting.
I can lift it higher. Hang on. Ooh, I can bend this, Brian. Ooh.
Yeah. So that's what I was talking about. You can start angling. Do you wear glasses?
No.
Oh, do you wear fake glasses just for looks?
Yes.
With lenses on them?
Yes.
Okay, so
you know that already about me?
When you do that, you're going to have to do some tests and see where you want that light, how high up and how angled.
Ooh, fancy. You don't need a second tripod?
Now you got to be careful when you start extending something like that, it becomes top heavy and it could fall over easily.
So the bottom of the tripod is adjustable to account for that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. The more you're lifting that light up higher and tilting it over, that center of gravity is changing on you.
Yes, I'm flattening the bottom.
Julie's saying that you're getting a real suntan just from that light.
No, for real though, y'all. This is wait, hang on. Hold up.
Look,
These are my blue blocker. So I look professional.
Look at this.
I have 20/20 vision.
So if you turn towards your camera with the light on there, so you can get feedback as to, okay, how much of the ring light is hitting my glasses. Now, obviously, you can say, well, I'll just keep raising it up. Well, the higher you're raising up that light, the less it makes you look better. So you always want something that's a little bit higher and off to the side at like a 45-degree angle if you can, to give you a little definition. But what you're doing now, what we're doing is, I would account for your glasses so that you can, if you wanted to, on a day that you feel like you look good in glasses, and you're like, I'm going to do that, change up my looks. You would just adjust your light and just keep it there for all your things, but have it to where when you're wearing glasses, you're not going to see the glare of the light in them.
Yeah.
And it may not be perfect, but just get it to where it's kind of just, you don't really see it. Yeah. See?
Yeah. Something funky. I mean, I can tweak, but this is, I mean, arguably for those who are watching earlier, is this better?
It's getting better.
Thank you, Julie. I don't know what's on that whiteboard, but probably nothing. And
you're going to see, like, okay, right now you're going to look back on these videos and you're like, I might want to slide this tree over a little bit more here. I might want to slide the light thing back there a little to the right. So you're gonna micro manage a little bit of where everything is, and I think that's gonna be the fun part. But you can so Chelsea, your next thing, if you want to start playing with your lighting in the background,
yeah.
And I'm gonna put up here so everybody can see.
The background special lights are a bizarre concept to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, and you may not want to. You may not like them.
But I really, really like how your studio looks. I don't know if you can hear me.
You just now, whether or not you like certain colors or certain things lit, in general, I'm going to speak very generally here. You can have the best light on you here, but if your background is not lit, your video quality is going to go down quite a bit, because now all of a sudden you have a high contrast video to where everything in the background is super dark.
Yep.
And the video is not going to like that. It's not going to look good. So you would want to backlight back there with certain key lights, where you use your movie light thing to just highlight maybe one of your trees or whatever. And I don't want to make this sound difficult, but if you had dimmable lights that you can adjust, it will make creating this whole scene so much easier, because if your movie light thing only has one brightness on it, that could cause issues with how you light your entire room. Like everything that you see in mine here, I can go through and say, okay, I want my key light, my main light, to be brighter or less bright. I want my my light on my bookshelf to be brighter, or maybe that's too distracting, so I want to lower that light down. And then maybe the light behind me that's too bright, I want to bring that down or bring it up. If you can do dimmables whenever you have the chance, when you're buying this stuff, And I'm going to list all of the lights that I have in my background down in the description. And they're actually relatively cheap. And you can change them into like millions of colors. And you can have them do all sorts of things. But see, already, just adding different lights back there gives it a different vibe.
Doing this very live, folks. Very live. All right. I got a light back there, obviously. You can see.
Now sit down. Yeah, so sit down and let's take a look at this, what we've got.
Oh, wait. I have a light up here, too. All the lights. Let there be light.
So Chelsea has a handful of different options she can use, which is really
Look
cool.
how much better this looks, just period.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is you just kind of throwing things together on our live.
And also Brian's like, I know, I've been telling you that.
But I think this is, see, Chelsea and I were talking months ago, shortly after we started interacting with each other. Because I was listening to like her podcast. She had one where, what was the beer episode that you did?
Oh, I did an episode of my friend who is head of marketing and communications at this brewery on how tasting beer is like receiving feedback.
It was a really, really, that was my favorite one that I had listened to. And I was, I was very new to Chelsea. But from a business, I'm also a business. I own my own business, so I'm kind of a business guy too. So it's interesting to hear from a business level discussion from people on that side of things for a podcast. But one of the things that Chelsea had mentioned early on when we were talking was on her videos, she wanted it to look kind of like somebody else that she had sent me an example of somebody else on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, you could easily get that look and feel. It's just that you're just going to need a few different, you're going to need some lighting. You're going to have to buy some lighting and just kind of change around the room a bit. But she can do it. We all can kind of do it. And the great thing is you can do it. And then if you don't like it, you can change it. It's all pretty flexible. I'm loving this. Already.
I know. I'm getting, and I know I'll do the small tweaks tomorrow.
Yeah.
But just getting a little oriented so I can continue with today. So what I think is cool, I don't see a glasses glare other than my laptop screen, which you have as well, and is like unavoidable.
Yeah, right.
So that's nice. If you can see from the back, the light is not blocking my window, which is very valuable for me because like looking outside, it's just, I need it. I also, have thought about future orientations of my house as we like grow our family or whatever. And I think I'll always end up with a desk facing a window and with my pretty background, like a little too far away. Something else. Let me shut my door.
And for me, as I'm watching this, and we've got two screens of Chelsea, each one is at a different time of her audio. So one's like, for me, like 3 seconds off, and the other one's like 5 seconds off. Again,
I feel like your angle changed on your main cam. Oh, so I think that this is happening automatically. On my camera, it goes from full high definition to high definition.
So you're probably going 720 to 1080, and so it has to kind of crop in on you when you go to 720.
Correct, but why is it doing that?
And so therein lies. So there's another thing here. So down the road, I would, again, if Chelsea's wanting, if she's doing this for her business, and if live streaming and podcasting are in her future of wanting to do that, I would invest in a dedicated camera, and they don't have to be expensive, but just one that you can hook up to your laptop where you can manually adjust the camera settings to better match the lighting in your room.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you notice, like when she moves around, her exposure changes, right? So if she moves around, her laptop is like, oh, now the scene looks brighter, so then it'll automatically dim it down a bit. So her exposure keeps changing. Now there's ways to lock that, but when you have a dedicated camera, you have so much more control over how the scene looks, and your overall video quality is a little bit better. It's not a guarantee that it's better if you don't know what you're doing. It could be a whole lot worse. But using your laptop and using your phone, it's just easy. And I don't want to discourage people from just starting out with the easy things first. But if you really enjoy doing lives and doing YouTube and doing podcasts, you, I think at some point, in addition to having good lights on you, you should have a good high def camera. You don't need anything 4K. Very few things out there are pushing 4K content. Even YouTube barely pushes 4K content. Just get something that does nice 1080, cheap, that has connectors that you can output to your laptop. I use my work camera. It's a Canon 5D Mark IV. It's been out for a few years, but it's kind of like the traditional wedding camera that a lot of professionals use. And that right there, the body itself is about, I don't know, $2,500. Now, would I buy a $2,500 camera to do this stuff here? No, I wouldn't, unless I was making money doing this. But I'm just fortunate that my work coincides with what I'm doing here, that I can use my work stuff, and I'm using my camera. So that is answering the second thing that she brought up about 20 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is while we're filming, how is it that I'm looking off to the side and then she's looking into the camera when she's doing her thing? Well, it's because I've got a secondary camera over here, which I don't have my side camera up right now. But the only way I can look to get feedback from her is looking on my screen. So that's why I'm off. And for me, that's kind of a look that I kind of like with podcasting and live streaming a bit. But there's all different kind of, if you guys are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and you watch all these, comedians, or you watch all these other guys, some of them are set up to where they're talking directly into a camera, and that's just the vibe that they want to go with. So it's kind of a one-on-one, very personal. And then when you're looking off camera, for me, the vibe I take from it, that I feel when I see those things, are people that are watching are kind of dropping in, kind of seeing behind the scenes. It's just a different look. But that's why when you guys are watching us interact, Chelsea's looking directly into the camera, because her camera is where her screen is, whereas my camera's here, but my screen is here. So that's the difference.
I think I'm into this. Julie, I moved my whole desk with Elise's suggestion, which I appreciated. I was like, I can't move my desk. And I was like, that's silly. I can move my desk. So my light is in the corner. And I think this is okay.
But you're gonna look, and from what I know of you, you're gonna be like, I think you're gonna have fun with changing the small things around, and like maybe putting a little accent blue light somewhere or something.
So did you send a link, or are you linking a link? How do you? Because I had my little light back there, and that's not sufficient. Because if I put my light behind me, I am that doesn't work. Like you can see it like hitting the, so we can't see your lights is my point, but we can see the glow. How do you have it set up?
So on mine, you can see the, what color would you call that? My red? Is it red or orange?
I did not know you have a red. I only see your blue.
So my bookshelf.
Oh.
So my bookshelf has these little Govee bar lights that attach with a little sticker, and I can change those into all different kind of colors. And so I have 2 of them. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The 2 up here you can't see, and they're putting just a little bit of a light so you can kind of see a little bit of the bookshelf, but it's not too distracting from taking away from the beard. I'm still kind of here, but you're getting a little glow of a nice warm color contrasted on the color wheel with a color in the back, and it just so happens those are 2 of the Tossing Salad podcast colors. So
Got
the
it. I
light that's
heard you
back
saying that
there,
earlier, and I wasn't like connecting. I get it
if
now.
I scoot back, so I have a floor lamp that you can just barely see on this side of the bookshelf, just out of the camera angle that's emitting that light up against the wall. But because of where it's at and where I sit, you can't really see a floor lamp, but you can see a nice little thing that separates me from the background. Now just imagine if if there was no light back there, I would blend into the background a little bit and it would look all muddied and just dark and grainy. So that's why people say when you're lighting a room, you want to definitely not only have great light on the subject, but you want to also focus on your lighting behind you. So what I'm going to suggest to you, as you're getting used to or getting ready to kind of change the little things, I would set the look of your room first. I wouldn't even when we're off camera tomorrow, the weekend, whenever you get time, don't even turn the light on you, and turn yourself around and look at your background in the dark, and then start placing your lights and set it how you want it to look to you as you're looking in the background, the lighting, whatever color if you want, or if you just want regular color lights, that could be fine too. So maybe a spotlight here, a little light there that shows a little dimension of the plant, but set that first. And then what you do is you go to your camera, turn your camera on or turn your laptop thing on, and you set that. You should still be able to, on your laptop, if you're using your laptop, you should be able to set your exposure and lock it down. Lock it down to where it looks exactly how you're perceiving it with your eyes. Lock your exposure on your camera on your laptop to where your camera is seeing exactly what you're seeing. You follow me or no?
I am. I'm trying to see.
And if you don't have the functionality of doing that, I think there's like apps you can download that'll take control of your camera that you can actually set different things. Lock that exposure to where the camera of your laptop is seeing that background how you're seeing it. Now, the fun part here is because you got the fancy light now. So then what you'll do is if your background's looking like you want it to look, like you guys see my background now, that looks exactly how I see it when I'm sitting here and I turn around. So what you do is you, as a demonstration, so this would be this would be the part where you're at. You set your background, and you're like, okay, well that looks great, Brian, but what about me? Well, now that you have a nice 18-inch light that can adjust, and your laptop is exposed for that background, you turn your light on, and you stop it every so often until you get to the light setting that has you properly exposed, but is not too bright that it washes out your background. Because I can crank this all the way because it's a super awesome 18-inch light. Now look at it. I look like I'm in a workshop.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn this down to 30% power. Maybe just a little brighter. And so that's part of the massaging of setting a room for your stream. So always start with your background. And I do this like for weddings and stuff.
Yeah.
Or when I'm shooting portraits. If I go to a company, I have to shoot like 100 people. I will light my background first, get that set up how I want the background, and then I go to my key light, my main light, and then I adjust that to the subject so that my subject is properly exposed, but my background is already locked in.
Yep. So I think, is there a glare right at the top of my head from my overhead?
So what you'll want to do also is
Turn
once
it
you
off.
have your background light and then your main light, you want to kill any kind of room light, because that's just adding a different color light, and it's anything above you is just ugly light anyways.
Okay.
But see, as when Chelsea got up to go turn off that light, you can see how her exposure started changing, because then when she got out of the picture, everything to the computer, everything to her laptop showed as being darker. So it tried to make everything brighter. So that's why we saw it's almost like pulsing. Her exposure kept changing. It's because it's looking at the entire scene and setting the exposure for everything it sees on the screen. If you can lock that down, that's why
Yep.
having a dedicated camera really helps with that.
I think this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I was brighter, like I was more washed out. I had my light up pretty high. And so in speaking, I just turned it down. Now, question. I know you said light up what you want to light up. I don't know. Like what should I be highlighting in the back?
Some you need, if you're having that corner tree pot, there has to be some kind of a, like, how cool would that be to have almost like a disc light down in that pot that shoots straight up, and you just see the texture of the tree with the light shining from below it. I think would look cool.
But you would see the light.
Well, you would see the light shooting up into the tree, and then if you can change the power of it, you can adjust it to how you like it. I'm just saying, like, I love texture in all my images that I take and whatever. I like to have different kinds of texture somewhere.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have these big plants, I would love to have those in my background. Right now, at the top of my bookshelf that you can't see, can you? No, you still can't see it from there. I've got a pothos that I've started that I would love at some point, probably 5 years from now. And I want those long
Wait, you have
stems.
live pothos? It's fine. Look at my pothos.
Yeah.
See him? It's in the middle.
Oh, is that what I get? I can't see it because it's not lit.
No. Thanks. Yeah, so there's
But see, I love the fact that you have the plants there, and it kind of brings in your gardening side of you, which I would love to do as well.
So the Dracaena right behind me, if the pothos can live, the Dracaena can live.
I would love that. I would love to have something like that back in front of that blue light that I have, to where you just see it kind of backlit, but then you see kind of this the structure of the plant. I think that would look cool behind me. I just don't have anything like that.
Yeah. Hang on, let me put this where I think I'm going to have it, and then I need you to tell me what to light. The only thing I don't like about this here is the way my room was set up before. It actually allowed me to switch it to a guest room fairly easily. So I actually think I'm moving the Dracaena back. Because then every time someone stays over, it's like one additional thing I need to move, which is the like form versus function drama. So that'll go back.
You're not going to have, and that's something that people are going to have to take into consideration, is that, at least in my office, I can change it around, but I don't have to have any other function other than for this. Whereas you're using it as a guest room, so that's going to have to come into play also.
Yeah, it's a fully multi-function room. Okay, I'm going to move the Dracaena back because it's driving me insane. And then let's figure out where. So you be looking at my background. I need to know where to put lighting because I kind of hear you, and I also it's confusing.
The lighting is going to come at kind of experimenting with what you want do you want a plant backlit, or do you want us to actually see the plant itself? So then you would put the light kind of in front, right? Whereas when we're talking as a subject here, I don't want to backlight myself. I want a front light so you can see my details. But what's cool in the background is you could put a light or a color light behind one of your plants and shoot it up on the wall, and then you would have this really funky it's almost like you see my how can I get this here? You see my headphones? Just the outline of them. Whoops, right
Yeah.
here. With that light behind it. But
Yeah.
imagine this being a plant. And you can see the shape of the leaves and stuff, but it's not too distracting because you're not seeing all the tiny details, but it's just in the background. And it just makes for something interesting to see. Like
So
even this looks, I think this looks cool.
no,
Just the
yeah.
backlight.
Like a light. So can you see this dresser? Like I could do a light on the floor next to this dresser that would be hidden, but could point up.
I would. Okay, so take a look at the Govee. There's so many different companies that make these cheap LED colored lights that you can put standard colors, or you can make a million different color combinations and have them do a bunch of different things. There are so many ways to attach these lights. So like I said, I've got a very it's like a big long 4-foot tube. It's on a stand, and it has one long LED that changes. I can change it to all kinds of colors. Or you can get these lights that attach like underneath. You can get the little pucks. There's really all kinds of different kind of lighting setups that I think you would have a fun time just kind of looking through, and then that's where your imagination will kick off. You'd be like, ooh, I can actually mount that here. Or you can get one with a magnet if your desk or something is magnetized. Like I've got a can you see? Yeah, over here you can see I've got a metal file cabinet over there. If that was somewhere kind of where I needed it to be, I can mount one of those magnetized lights, LEDs.
Nice.
All kinds of things that I think if you wanted to just spend 10, 15 minutes on Amazon, and the company that I go with is Govee, Govee, and it'll be in the description in our show notes. I do that because I can control them all from one app. I'm not saying they're the best or anything. I just started down with Govee lights in my house. And so when I wanted to go find lights for the studio, I pulled them up, and then I'd look, and there's 50 different light types. And the different ways they can mount on your wall, on a bookshelf. They can hang a certain way. You can dial in specific hex codes to where, I mean, you can really have some fun with it to where you dial in the color that you want.
The only thing, they are very reasonable, but they're like $80 as I move far away from my mic. I'm not sure if I'm like at an $80 investment place,
There's other ones there. There's other options either within Govee. Like Julie has, I use that brand for Bluetooth temperature gauge thingy for my grow room. So yeah, so they dip into the gardening sector as well. But there's a lot of just cheap alternatives within Govee or within other brands that you can really. There's little globes that just sit on your desk that can shoot out laser lights. I mean, just really cool things that you can mess
There's
around with
this
your room.
ASOKO under cabinet light as recommended by Amazon, which seems to be quite affordable.
And Amazon has a great return procedure, so you can order a few different things, and the ones you don't like, you return it.
But you haven't heard of this one?
That specific one I have not. But that doesn't mean really anything.
Interesting. So I'm thinking, as a hypothetical, I put a light under the bookshelf
Mm-hmm.
on the top going down, and I put a light on this cabinet or on this bookshelf. What's that called? Dresser
Mm-hmm.
going out. And those are my like two that I start with. And I just need to be on top of it enough that I can like do it, test it. If I don't like it, move on.
Yeah, but when you're thinking about the lights that you're getting, try to build in a little bit of um, where you can use it in different manners if you decide to change things up.
So I'm looking for dimmable and I'm looking for warm. My brand doesn't have a lot of color in it.
And you wouldn't even have to look up warm necessarily, because most of the LEDs, as long as it shows that they're programmable to different colors, you can set warm or cool colors. Again, it's a mixture. Each one of these, it's like a million different color combinations. So you can go warm colors, cool colors. You can have it change depending on the temperature outside. The apps are pretty cool.
All right. That'll have to be the next iteration. That, after I buy all my spring plants, on the list with a potential new camera, which I already have the one picked out I want. I just haven't done it yet.
It's a priority thing, right? Because you have gardening, that's a passion of yours, as well as we all have, a lot of us have kids that takes priority over other things that we may buy for fun stuff like this. But I think your setup that you have now, like if you didn't buy one other thing, you would be good to go, because you've got your key light, so you're going to look great. And then if you can just adjust your background however you want to do it, and if it's just even a couple different lights and balanced out to where you have a light on each side of you in the background,
So
it's
I
going to
have a
look
light
great.
on this side.
Right, but you know what I'm saying though? I mean, you can adjust everything that you already have. You don't even have to buy anything else.
Yeah.
And you can have a really cool setup, and you're going to get closer to that video that you sent me a few months ago, to where you're like, I kind of like this guy's look. But the best way to visualize this is to sit in a completely dark room, and then start putting your lights in the background when your main pieces are set where they're going to be.
I also am feeling like I look very tan. I may switch it.
But so this is where you have the option of changing it at the light source. You have the option of changing it on the camera to where you can change the white balance on there. So it just, by getting a light like that with those things, it just gives you options to, you can change your coloring there a little bit, or you can change it on your laptop.
Thoughts on changing 2 panels, but not all of them?
Yeah. So then it won't be as warm, but just make sure they're kind of balanced out depending on how that light's bent towards you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have 4 different ways of making it more warm or less warm, and you play around with it to see where you think you look best in.
Okay. I won't
But
do that now, but I will do that.
I would leave the light kind of as it is, and then adjust it on your camera. That's always the easiest thing to do.
Okay. That's the thing I can't. I understand what you're saying, absolutely, because I know what you mean, where it auto adjusts. I just can't seem to access.
Yeah, if you don't have it, if it's not built in on the Mac, I've got a Mac also. I just don't use it for that, so I'm not familiar with what the tweaks that you can do. But I do know there are third-party apps you can download to where you can really get control of that camera in there.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I wouldn't pay for an app, especially if getting a camera down the road is going to come. Then I would just deal with what you have until you get the camera.
Yeah. Because I think the camera I want's not that expensive. Again, I'm just sort of
Because
being cash
here's a
conscious.
cool thing if you can visualize this. When you get to the point to where you change the coloring of your camera to go, let's say, super cool on your white balance to make things really look blue.
Mm-hmm.
So what I can do is I can turn this whole background just by my camera and make it look like there's nothing but blue lights back here, like super deep, rich blue. But then the problem is, okay, well, shoot, I'm going to be blue. Well, then that's where having this light that's on you, you can adjust that and make this warmer by putting on those warmer lights, so it balances out the blue that your camera's getting. So your camera's making your background look bluer,
Mm-hmm.
cooler, and then you can fix that on you because you don't want to look blue, you want to look normal. You can adjust your main light to um, to balance that out, so you can
Yeah.
make yourself look. You can make that look super warm, but because it's fighting with the blue, it makes you look normal. But the background looks super blue and cool.
We have slightly different definitions. I'm like a pretty modern
It
aesthetic.
Yeah, but it gives you options, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So you have all kinds of options.
Yeah. I love this. I think this is leagues better. I honestly, I know we were talking earlier if you want the $20 ring light and you all saw my visual, but I was so blinded. It was so unpleasant. So what I'm loving about what I have set up now and the reason I bought the bigger light, I'm going to keep the ring light because when I travel and I take calls like at my in-laws in New York, etc., it would be smart to have. But
Yeah.
other than that, it was kind of a disaster. This light not blinding me at all. I have my super warm light set up here, so I'm not too shadowed on this side. I have my big light set up. I'm like, this is lovely. I'm very happy with this. I think this looks
It's kind of neat, right?
it's very neat. And I'm pretty bought in. I agree. Because the other thing I've greatly disliked is the distance I am away from the bookshelf. And you can, get rid of I don't like how far it is. I can't do much about that. It's a Murphy bed. I feel like I'd be wasting space in the room. My dogs come and sleep on the floor, etc. But if I light the bookshelf, I don't think it'll matter the distance I am away. Like the only
No,
reason,
you'll
right? Like
make it look
those,
cool.
because the Zoom backgrounds where the bookshelf is right behind you. Yeah, sure, because their ring light is right in front of them.
Well, and then there's, depending on the camera that you have and the lens that you use, you can make your background look like it's closer to you or further distance from you,
Oh,
depending on the lens that you have on. You can't really do that with your built-in camera on the laptop. There's ways you can fake it digitally, but with a higher end camera, that if you can change the lens to where then all of a sudden it compresses everything together, if that's the look you're going for, or if you want to make the background look like it's further away and more blurred out or whatever, then you have a certain lens for that.
You were selling me pretty hard right now on the extra camera probably being the first purchase, though I don't think this spotlight on my bookshelf works because then there's this like wild shadow, which makes it obvious.
Yeah, so that's a matter of just kind of playing around. But let's just say that you're in a budget crunch. Like a lot of us are in a budget crunch. We can't just go out and buy everything that we need right at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a good position right now that I think you have everything that you need lighting wise, and you can probably be crafty enough to get pretty close to a look that you're really happy with by just moving a few lights around or angling them a certain way. And I don't know, are we going to say like on the next live that we do, you're going to have version 1 of the new Chelsea studio for us to see?
At a minimum, I'll hang the picture that I've not hung. I'm not sure. Like I'm not fully bought in that I can do much more to the bookshelf without the lighting you're suggesting. Like I feel like it's pretty obvious what I need, which is just a light that mounts on top and shines down.
Yeah, but I think any kind of light and you start moving it around, I think you're going to come up with a few different ways to make it look kind of cool and interesting back there. And I think we'll just have to wait for you to unveil it.
I am going to adjust the color of my overhead light. I think the position is very good. What do you call it? My key light.
Yeah, I honestly I think so. If you guys are watching us right now, so Chelsea has a warmer light tone on her than I do. I have a very cold tone on mine, just the way everything's kind of set up. I like the warm tone on you. I think that looks good, but for you, you may be like, "Yeah, I don't like it." But that's it. All comes down to what you like and what your preference is. I like the way you're looking with that more golden light on you.
Okay. So your only change you would make is the backlighting.
The only thing I think right now, the only thing that if it was just me, I would definitely just play around with your background just to get it to look cool. Not that right now doesn't look good, but without any light, it just looks like you're. It just looks kind of yeah. I think you can make that look really cool without being distracting, but to
Mm-hmm.
make it look like hey, that's because in real life when you walk into my office here, this is a mess. This whole thing looks like shit. To be honest with you, this looks
I
way better on camera.
I don't agree. I don't know if I'd agree with that because we saw your second camera, but when you did see your second camera, it was pretty funny just because the aesthetic I think is different. I don't think it's a mess.
Well, you can't really see my background from this
You just
angle
have a more
here.
traditional desk. There's like a more traditional vibe to the room.
Yeah, yes. When I first put in this office, it was more of a traditional office type thing.
But your
This,
lighting makes it not look like that. Your
right?
lighting makes it look like you are
Like yeah.
a tech expert. I don't know.
Well, just but I have watched so many YouTube videos, and it's one of those things to where you can get depressed, just like with gardening. You go onto some gardener's account, and all they post is like the best looking stuff, and the garden looks awesome, and all their raised beds match because they all bought the same wood all at the same time. We're able to build everything looks so great, and then you look at
Mhm.
you look at my stuff that I've just accumulated over the years, and everything looks mismatched, and everything just looks. And you're just like, oh man, I just wish I had the gorgeous Instagram garden or something. But I saw certain things that I was like, you know what? I think I can kind of replicate a little bit to what I want it to look like, and I'm close. I mean, I can probably change it later on, and I probably will. But I got other issues now with things going on with the sound and all the other. That's all my pressing matters right now, and then making sure that you and I are doing our show here. But I this is the look I kind of want for now, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. So that's good. I don't have to worry about it.
So a thought, the strips, because those are very affordable. Like I can make that happen tomorrow. They look good. I think I may get the LED strips. They do different colors. They're dimmable.
Different colors, dimmable, gives you options. I love it. There's cheaper versions of all of those that just do like uh, a set color, like 5,000 Kelvin, 6,000 Kelvin, and they may be dimmable and they're cheaper. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But it rules out you getting into color down the road. It may not be you with the different colors, but you don't know.
It doesn't rule it out because this is $15 and there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Do it, don't do it. Do it, don't do it. Gotta think about it. I'm not good at that. Like, oh, it's $15. I don't want to buy the $80 one, but I'll buy the $15 one right now.
But I mean, take into account the app and the company. Like if you're buying stuff because it's super cheap, but it's like outside of the other lights you already have, and you have to use a different app, and
I
that
don't think
might
there's
be a good
any
or
app
bad
for
thing.
these. I think these are like on and off scenario.
But there's one thing you might want to consider. Like for me, again, I'm not saying what I do is the right thing, but I like having only like one app that can control. And Govee is a particular brand that I mean they're not super expensive, they're not super cheap, they're kind of in the middle.
You're fine. Just
But
like $80.
I just know every light that I get that is through Govee, I can always control it on one singular app.
Mm.
So I think kind of long term sometimes also.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's so many different options for you.
Yeah. I'd say our next live, this is pretty much how I'm going to look, though I am going to try to adjust the camera as we discussed. I may try to adjust the lights that you see today.
You know what's going to be interesting for you? It's going to be interesting for me also to look at is to compare your video quality right now with your bigger, you got the bigger light on,
Mm-hmm.
with your previous videos. And I'm going to be curious to see if the resolution looks better. Now it's hard to tell on a small phone. Everything kind of looks the same, and on a small phone, everything looks a lot better than what it is. When I pull it up maybe on a bigger screen or on the TV, you can tell, like when things aren't as sharp or a little fuzzy or something. I'll be curious to see what kind of difference I can tell with the bigger light on you versus the other one.
Yeah. I'm going to try this light.
I think we blew past our
Yeah, blew way past it. To be fair, there was a physical element of this live. So we are way past. But this is work that I would have had to do on my own that I was able to do live. So thank you, everyone,
unpolished
for contributing.
episode. It's you said it on I think the teaser or something. I mean, we're pulling it back, and people can kind of see not only you and I working together and putting together a show and what we're going to do, but part of it is setting up the actual studio. And it could cost a lot of money, or you can go a little bit cheaper too. And I think you can also do that. So if you're on a budget and you're wanting to do this stuff too, there's ways you can do it. Absolutely.
Well, I still think the $20 light that I had was fine. I think additionally, if you just had the movie light I have over my head, that could have done
I would
something.
love the $20 light for the simple fact that it opens you up to wherever you go. You could almost do a live. You can't take the big 18-inch light with you.
No. I'm here for that. I travel too much to not have a to-go light.
I tell people the travel photography that I do for our local paper. So I'll go, one of my best photos, we were down in Jamaica, and carrying around my camera gear when I go on location places, I mean, it's like bringing a third child. And I have the main body gear. I have like 4 different lenses. I have all kinds of stuff to make things look really good. But I'm not going to lug it around everywhere all the time. The one thing I do have all the time is my phone. One of my top photos I've ever taken that got sent out across the country on the AP wire was a photo of 2 guys coming back with I don't know if it was a marlin or some kind of giant ass fish. And they got out of their boat, guys that worked at the resort, and they held it up. And then all the resort people got around it. Just so happened like a good looking girl in a bikini went and held it up. And all I had was my phone. All I had was my phone, but it's convenient. It takes good enough photos. It doesn't match the quality of my big camera, but it does the job because it was there, and I'm always going to have it. That little light of yours is functional because you can take it anywhere and have light.
Yep. Yeah, it'll for sure be. So by our next live, I will now have a light on the dresser and a light on the top of that thing that are just warm, dimmable, but not color changing. And we'll see how that changes things. And I am going to play with the coolness a little bit. I feel like a little sunburned, but maybe I am quite literally sunburned from this giant light over my head. We'll see. I think this definitely makes a huge difference, and it will be interesting, especially during the day, because I record most of my other podcasts during the day. So we'll see how that changes.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get this kind of going. And then I would not be surprised if we don't pop in early next week with another live.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about how this live went, whether or not we kind of like where um, we don't really know what we're getting into. I mean, we had a little skeleton idea of how the show was going to go, but not to the point to where you're moving things around and all that. So that's one of the things that I think Chelsea and I kind of like with our episodes and the scheduling of it so far is we do something and then the next episode we kind of review things and then we look forward and say, okay, what are we going to do going ahead? Try to make some plans and come up with ideas that hopefully at the end of the 24 episodes we come together and decide, I mean, do we have something or not? Everything so far has been interesting. We've done, what was the first episode we did was what the hell we're doing? Just in
Digging
general.
deeper was the
Was that the
first
very first
content
one?
episode. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was Castle and her dating questions.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, our first episode was just launching.
so just launching, tell people what we're doing.
Yep.
And then we had a guest host, which is something different and a different dynamic. But Castle came on with her dating history questions, or some of them, and then you and I are getting to know each other. And then we had an episode after that, kind of reviewing that and talking about MILF Manor and all sorts of stuff. We've got, I mean, I think we need to. I think our next episode is we'll talk a little bit about how this went, and then you have your post-it note software that has all the show ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe we'll get some comments from people that are watching with us what our next show should be about.
Yep. Probably find like I mean, I could do an evening of next week, or we can find it during the day. Quick planning live, and then potentially turn around a Friday content episode if you're around or up for it.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of touching a Friday night or like a nighttime weekend and then doing one kind of during the day. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we get a different group of people that can see it live or something. But I feel a little different during the day than I do at night. So you get a different version of Brian as well.
Yeah, I love it. We'll debrief this. I will have some adjustments before then, as long as we don't meet Monday. See how that goes and make sure everything's still looking good from my consultant. And then pick our next content episode for Friday the 6th.
Perfect. Do you ever think that we'd get to this 5th episode?
I thought we'd get to the 5th episode. I mean, I hoped we would get to this episode. This episode was selfish. Friday the 7th. I needed this moment. So I will say this took the longest because this had to take the longest because I was moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm basically done, which is awesome. So thanks, y'all. Elise, great ideas at the corner. Julie, all the feedback. Like, it's really helpful. We need that, right?
Has your percentage chance changed on us getting to 24? Because the last time I asked you this question, you said you gave it, I forgot what you said you gave it. I gave it like barely 50%.
I'm more confident. I mean, we're going to be through episode 7 next week, barring anything changing. I'm assuming we shoot something during the day, and then I'm pretty confident if we do that, we'll be through episode 7 next week, which is fast.
Yeah.
Traction.
All right. So we are at the end of our live. This was a good one. I think you say selfish. I think this helps out other people that are, they're kind of curious on going into doing more lives or doing podcasts. I know there's a handful of people that still to this day after, I've talked to them for years now and they just they don't want to they're just not comfortable being on camera on lives. They know they think it would be fun. They just can't get around to doing it. I totally understand. I am not comfortable doing this. Even to this day, I am still not. And I force myself just because it's something that I value and I want to address on my own. It's not easy. I don't like being on the spot. I don't like I do like this when we get going, but I have a lot of anxiety about this and anxiety on performing. So I understand when people are like they're a little anxious or afraid of doing lives or podcasts or getting in front of the camera. I totally get you guys. I do. But if it's something that you think is fun, I mean, send me a DM and we can do like an off, just like a low key episode to see if you kind of like doing it a little bit. And, but it's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know actually. So I worked well, won't get into that. But someone I worked for, a CEO I worked for, vlogged as a part of his, if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll figure this out really fast. Vlogged as a part of his vibe and would always say he always missed his vlog deadlines. And I was like, the editor is struggling. Like, I need you to meet, and he was like, talked about the social anxiety piece of it, etc. And I was like, this is what you do. I live vlogged my whole day just to send him to show him. So the video doesn't. I question. It's more like the imposter syndrome of like the content. Do people enjoy it? But as long as I'm having fun, I guess. Can I give you homework as a takeaway? Since I have a lot of homework, I've been putting in the work this episode.
Yeah.
I sent you a link to a Dracaena. As a side, not to do an inside joke, I am secretly, not so secretly, trying to increase Brian's houseplant game.
I need it.
So this will take forever to ship. So I'd recommend like Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. They will have this plant. Cane dragon tree is the first time I'm hearing it called that, but a Dracaena, I'm probably saying that name wrong, but something like that. If you like it, you should get one. If a pothos can live, a Dracaena can live.
I'm just months into doing indoor plants, and really the only thing that got me into indoor plants is my studio, because I just want plants in here. At some point I want something just soft and alive in the background. But I'm it's kind of interesting. I've got a whole windowsill of small little 2-inch Home Depot indoor plants. But yeah,
it's time to play in the real game. So I started with the little easy growers. I don't think it really flexes. You know so much about plants. You can't just start with the babies. What I did was when I moved to Manhattan, I went out and I bought a fiddly fig, which has been in videos and photos of mine before. He is beautiful. This was a $60 Craigslist buy, which is a very expensive, fancy penny ficus, which is weeping. It's not a weeping, but it's a ficus fig. So like two of the hardest. A Dracaena, I'm giving you like easy. Or
you
a
not
cane
get me
plant.
a cutting of yours or something? Like, wouldn't that be something that, okay, two gardeners and we're doing this project together?
So I do not cut
Wouldn't
the
I want
fiddly
something
fig.
of
I
yours?
don't cut it. I don't cut the fiddly fig for anyone. I could give you a cutting of a monstera. Monsteras also would do really well in low light. I don't think I can do a cutting of a Dracaena. I think all you can do is separate it, and mine currently has one stalk because the other two stalks died. It was in super low light, but it's it's on the left of a southern facing window, so it's in pretty crappy light right here.
Basically, my podcast partners just told me to fuck off. She's like, I'm not cutting my shit for you.
No, I don't cut the fiddly fig.
Am I in a basement? I am. I mean, I'm like, this is a total basement type room. There's very
no
little
lighting?
light. No, I do have I have one window, but it's probably not enough to keep even a low light plant alive. I've got on
You
the
have
top of
those.
Well, if I could show it on the top shelf, I have a grow light that somebody gave me for free. That I'm able to turn on. It's off now when I'm on camera, so I don't get that weird glow from up there of a different color. But I have that on is it pothos? I've been calling it pothos.
Oh, don't look to me for pronunciation.
Whatever it is. I don't know either. I don't want to be calling it something else.
Tomato, tomato. It's fine. Pothos,
I
pothos.
just figured my potential podcast partner would be like, "Oh, I would love for you to have a piece of my
Fit
plant that's in here."
anyone who has a fig, we do not propagate. You do not upset it. We live in its house.
Is it that delicate?
Figs,
Yeah. I don't know.
ficus, fiddly figs. Mine is thriving. He's moved with me to 4 locations. He is just crushing life and he takes over my dining room. When people sit at my dining room table, they're like, the tree is in the way. I'm like, I'm sorry, you were in the way of my tree. This is my tree's room. Welcome to dinner. Yeah, you can't just cut any plant. Thank you, Julie.
I just had somebody in gardening. Well, this is on the TikTok side, but said you can cut and propagate anything.
You can propagate a fiddly fig, but Hilton Carter, who taught me everything I know about houseplants, if you do not have his books and you do not follow him, you're not houseplanting. So he's fantastic. Follow him. He's hysterical. I actually did he did like a private event for fans and my husband got me tickets and it was amazing. And he was like, oh, it was Mike's name on the thing. So he was like, Michael, that fiddly fig looks great. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. He said he liked my fiddly fig. It was amazing. Anywho, he tried to propagate his fiddly fig, Frank. He named him Frank. And Frank almost died. And now I will never propagate my fiddle, which I have not named. You can't technically do a tree, but you could, you could do the ball method where you like skim the trunk and then put, what's that called? It's stem method. You put dirt around it wrapped in cellophane.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So you could, but like,
see,
you do
I
not
think that
upset it.
I mean, I feel like I asked you something like super intimate and personal, but I figured like if we're supposed to be becoming like friends and
grafting
partners and stuff, grafting, that I just figured that one of the things that's kind of cool when you know and trust somebody within this community, you're like, I would love for you to have a piece of my plant growing in your thing.
You're like, Chelsea, can you cut off the arm of your child and ship it to me? That would be great. That's what you just asked me.
Julie, do you have anything up in Canada that you can? I would love to have something of Julie's down here then.
I will send you plenty of cuttings that are not the fiddle. Anyone else listening is going to be like,
delicate,
Brian asked her to cut the fiddle.
You made it sound like it's been pretty strong and thriving. So I'm like, I mean,
because I am skilled.
It's not going to hurt it.
I have skill.
Something that cool in your house, I would figured you'd want to let your potential podcast partner have a little piece of it, but
a real conversation I had yesterday with my fiddle. He looked like he was leaning and I checked on his support pole and it seemed steady. He's fallen over once. I cried. It seemed steady, the support pole. And I looked at him, stroked his leaf and was like, I love you. Please don't die. I'm not kidding. That was a real life instance.
Julie's not sure she can send live plants.
Definitely not. Definitely you cannot send live plants to the United States without being a registered seller.
Really?
Oh yeah, we don't like foreigner stuff.
Like even little cuttings, you can't just send in the mail and then be like, "Oh, I didn't know."
I mean, I'm sure you could. It's like you can't ship alcohol in the U.S., but it's like if they don't check your package. But no, you're not technically supposed to. I'm 100% sure that you're not allowed to ship plants in and out of California, nor bring plants into California. Driving in, they lit my friend's plant on fire in front of him at the border. California border is like a whole other country.
So I've been on this Reddit trip. I feel like I'm like 20 years behind everybody, but I got on Reddit the last couple of years, and part of it is the gardening part of Reddit, to where there is a whole, I guess you call it a subreddit of people that do nothing but send cuttings to everybody. Like it's a whole thing of just people, I have this plant and I'm going to send it to 10 of you if you just let me know in the comments. And then it's them just shipping cuttings to each other of their plants. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Brian, make me feel terrible. I have plants I can send you cuttings of.
I mean, Julie's willing to go to jail, Canadian jail, to send me something.
No, she is not.
You're 2 states over, I think, in the same country.
Oh my. I do have a new fiddle that I got at Lidl, whatever. I don't know how to say anything. That was $15. It is like glamorous. Do you have Lidl?
I don't even know what that is.
Lidl, Lidel grocery store. I've never heard of
Oh,
it before.
no. I don't
It
even have a
just opened
Piggly
in
Wiggly.
Atlanta. You know, Piggly. Where do you shop?
Well, it's just there's no Piggly Wiggly in St. Louis. Like Julie's all like, what are you talking about? Julie, have you ever heard of Piggly Wiggly? It's a grocery store chain that's in the South.
It's not in Atlanta, I don't
It's not?
think.
Oh.
I mean, I know of it, right? But like, we don't identify with rural Georgia.
No. Anyway, this is a whole nother episode. Plus, we're going on to 2 hours and 5 minutes.
I know. We got distracted. Okay, don't get a plant. Though you could get a tree like this and do an overhead grow light hanging down and also turn it off.
Well, I know I can. I know I can go out and go buy one. The cool thing is to have something of yours here, especially like if we're doing a project together.
I can't send you a cutting. I can send you a cutting of a tree. I'm not going to send you a cutting of my prized, cherished possession. I will send you cuttings.
Those are usually the things that people want to share with their friends. They're like, I have this cherished family plant heirloom thing.
Oh, he just grew a third branch in the last 2 years, and it was the most exciting moment. Can't cut it off him.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's perfectly fine. All right, we are at the end then, Chelsea. I think there's nothing else for us to talk about. Julie's thinking I'm just being cheap. I am being cheap, but Julie, don't you think that
you're not coming out the right side of this?
Don't you think it'd be nice to have something of a friend of yours? I mean, are we to a point to where we're friends? I don't know, but I would think that'd be nice to be like, oh, and then back here in the blue light is Chelsea's fiddly fig that she's had that she just adores.
No one watching this who has a fiddly fig is going to agree with you.
Fine.
No one with a fiddly fig watching this will agree with you. Fine. But I have a giant, beautiful monstera that I will begin a cutting for you on, which is also a big thing.
So I think Julie's saying if we get to episode 24 and we do something, maybe then you would determine that I'm worthy enough to send me something.
I will send you something of value. No one is worthy enough of my fiddly fig.
That's fine. I totally get it. And I mean, I'm 50-50.
Oh, what tore them apart in the end?
If I had a valuable plant here that I've had, I would totally be like, Chelsea, I want you to have this. Means a lot to me.
Julie thinks a monstera cutting, thank you, is valuable. It is.
All right, so yeah, that's fine. We're done. We're done talking about it. Brian has to offer us the quest. You know, Julie, I think we're just done. I was going to say everybody. It's Julie, me, and Chelsea.
Are you dying of a tornado right now? What's happening?
And we were building the studio. I haven't with these. I don't hear a tornado watch up until 9 or 10 o'clock, so it's 9:30. So we're toward the end.
Your sound is cutting out very badly, as it should do.
I don't see anything out my window. Well, that's the cue for us to leave. All right.
Just making sure there's not a twister outside.
The end here because we drag this out. I'm gonna hit the end. Don't go anywhere. All right.
Should we turn the lights off? Leave it on. We'll turn the lights off.
All right. Julie, thanks for hanging in there at the very end with us. All right, bye guys. His laptop is overheating. I'm just getting